What's up everybody, Doug Lane here, Fast Lane Car Care. Today we've got this gigantic F-250 or 350 or whatever, Super Duty Platinum. It's a 350. This window here got replaced, the driver's side window. It was replaced and you know, it needs to get redone. I did not tint this originally, but also the gentleman wanted a 35% full windshield. So we did the full windshield. We did it over top the strip. Not a big fan of that, but you know, they were good with having the line. They understood all that good stuff. But here's what I want to point out. This end channel, I think is it the end channel or is it the glass? I think it's the glass. That's wild. Okay, so that's cracked. That is definitely cracked. And you can't feel it, I'm guessing, because of the tint. But anyway, what I wanted to point out is look at our gap here. I don't know what shop did this, who did it or whatever, but then look at our bottom. If you look here, it's not anywhere near the seal. And that's okay. It's not the end of the world. I'd like to tuck mine further than this, just so it's a little bit prettier. You know, this cut is really, really choppy. So let's go over here to the other side. I'm gonna show you how I cut them and install them. So first off, we need to get our 35% out of the way. Now, I could use a 24-inch roll. A 24-inch roll will work. I've done it many times. But here's an easier way to do it. These are basically flat. You really don't need to shrink them at all. Check this out. If you don't have one of these, you need one. I got the little single level thing. This one adjusts up and down. It goes like up to here, but this video is not about that. But man, it makes it super nice when you're working on these lifted up, jacked up trucks. So we're gonna measure from here to the top. And I'm just gonna go with about 24 just to be safe, maybe even close to 25 inches. Long ways, right? And the reason why I'm doing that is because I can use 25 inches of film, or I can grab my 24-inch roll and burn about 37 to be safe. Now I know 36 will cover it. It's a little bit tight, but it works. So again, I'm gonna measure down here to the bottom of this gasket, and I'm gonna come up here to the top, and I'm gonna measure to roughly about the top of the door, right? Because I can't really point it out, but if you look at where 24 inches is, and then you look across, you see what I'm saying? So we need to make sure we're covered at the top, make sure we're covered at the bottom. Go with about 24 inches. This is getting 5%. Hopefully it matches. That's what he said the other shop did. And so we're, you know, I looked at it. It's because it has tint over top, the factory tint. So, you know, I don't know. It's one of those things where I could get a light meter and check it out, you know what I mean? Just double check, but they wanted 5% on it, so that's what we'll give them. I've already wiped the glass down. I've already cleaned it, you know, all that good stuff. So now normally, right, you want your factory edge on the top and bottom, but on these, you don't. Okay, so what we're gonna do, the only reason I'm making this video is there's a lot of people that struggle with these, and there's several ways you can do it. And there's really not a wrong way to do it as long as it turns out right, you know what I mean? So what I'm gonna do is I'm not even gonna bother cutting this front edge. I'm gonna line it up so it's basically straight. I'm gonna pull it over here about like this. That's gonna leave me all this down here. I'm covered at the top. Just bring this up a little bit more. Cut this extra off up here just because. Okay, so I'm covered over here. I know that. Now, we'll go ahead and do the bottom. So if you just go in here and start, start cutting, you're gonna get a crappy looking cut, and it's just not gonna work out very well for you. But what you can do is just lift this up, and I like to stick it. I like to stick my knife down. So I'm not cutting here, I'm cutting basically straight down. Hopefully you guys can see that. I'm gonna start right here, roughly in the middle. I'm gonna come up this way, and I'll lift the film off the paint. I'm gonna get here to the gasket and just do one of those. Now that's gonna leave this film here kind of loose. So now what I'll do is I'll come right here, and I'll do the same thing. Now if you're really good with your left hand, you can finish off your cut like this. Or if you're not, you can come right here in the corner and come back this way. The big thing, the big takeaway is lift up your film so it doesn't put so much pressure. It doesn't want to crease. If you lift it up like this, and that's the magic. Conversely, another way you could do this, and if you're starting out, you might want to do this first. I did this for a long time. Let me see here. Get yourself a Sharpie. I prefer the Milwaukee version. You can get them at Home Depot or wherever. They just write better on wet, moist, oily, soapy stuff. And then what you do is you just trace that. Trace that line, do the same thing, lift up on the film, take the pressure off of it so you're not creasing it, because you can definitely crease it with a marker as well. And then if you don't have a peel board, you don't need a peel board. What you do is, let's shift it up here so this corner and this bottom edge is exposed, and trace your line. I like to cut underneath my Sharpie mark about like that, just to be safe. And then same way, once you get to the edge, just move it over and finish off your cut. Did that for a long time, never had any complaints. But we'll go ahead and cut this back edge. And we could do that with a Sharpie too. If you've already got one out, you might as well. So now what we're gonna do, just shift it over. These Super Duties have really deep seals. Now I've shifted it over. Now I'm gonna shift it down just a, 1/8, maybe 1/4 of an inch. These are really simple windows, so I'm not even putting on my apron just to do the one window. I'm gonna tack it pretty hard right here, mainly across the top. Staying away from the bottom, I don't want to tack that down. I got the end channel thing in here. We'll put that back on when we're all done. So now I'm gonna hold up my bottom edge here. Hold it up and away from the glass. And that's all I need right there. Go ahead and turn the truck off. Now I'm gonna go ahead and tack my top edge. You don't necessarily have to. Look at that. There's the edge of our glass. We still have 3/4 of an inch right there. So I like to tack the top edge, and then I like to mist it again with some solution, so that way my hand will glide across here a little bit better. I messed that up, so let's come back. I slipped. Right there. When I finish off my cuts, I like to go up and out. When I tear these forward edges, really, I like to do them like that. If you pull them down, it can mess with your, your curvature and stuff. So, and basically, we're just gonna come in here like this, just kind of follow our edge and start to curve it down. This is all gonna be hidden. Apparently we need a couple new segments. We'll go ahead and pick this one up so it doesn't end up in a tire. And we did our top edge, so we'll snap off that segment as well. I'm using NT blades. I just feel like they cut a lot better than Olfas. The Olfas just don't seem as sharp anymore. And I don't know if you can tell, but that's just a little bit not straight. So come in there and shave a little bit off. Now this is kind of what I was talking about with tracing your Sharpie line. Right, you could trace your Sharpie line and do all that. What we got here? We got a little straggler. Get out of there, buddy. Get out of there. And same deal. Just come in here like this. Round off our edge. A lot of people will say, don't cut on the glass. It's 2022. We're better than that. If you're using stainless blades and you're paying attention to using a sharp segment and paying attention, you're not gonna scratch glass. I mean, obviously, even with stainless blades, if you get carried, you're just, or get your angle really high up, yeah, you can scratch it for sure. But otherwise, you really don't need to worry about it. Just be careful. If you cut something, like how I cut over here, and it didn't cut, all the way through, don't push harder, just snap to a new blade. That's a good indicator right there that your blade's dull, and you need a new one. Dull blades are what will get you every time. So now we got a couple options here. Working up on this platform, because the truck's lifted so much, I think what I might do is use this as a peel board. Okay. Something like that. Now that frees up. You know what I mean? So that way we're not getting down and walking around and trying to, get up on here with the pattern in our hand. Now this truck's filthy, obviously, as you can see. So we're gonna definitely make sure we scrub it pretty good. Flush our seals a couple times. Now these diesel trucks, they have dual batteries on them, so I mean we could really sit here and leave this on for quite a while. It's not gonna run dead. Just out of habit, I don't like leaving them on any longer than I have to, because especially with the newer cars, man, they have so many computer systems and all that stuff that they end up going dead sometimes, especially if it's got a few years on it, and the battery's not that great. I'm gonna wipe off my door panel. I'm gonna wipe off this inside seal here. Wipe off this seal. go ahead and bump this down about that much. Get our top edge. Hear that squeak? That's how you know it's good to go. Okay. Seriously? Well, I guess since we're here, we'll go ahead and grab a shank. We really aren't gonna need it, but that's okay. We'll have it anyway. I wanna go ahead and flush these out. Now we'll go ahead. Do this. Sweep all of our dust and all that stuff off into these seals. And then hopefully take our little foot, sweep it out. Way out of the way to never be seen again. Okay. I feel like it should be pretty self-explanatory, but if you're gonna use your back door as a peel board, you're gonna wanna make sure that you wipe it off as well. You know, clean it, at least on the outside. Certainly not as graceful as I wanted it to be, but as long as we get it on the glass without touching anything. Ugh. Had a piece of fuzz in my mouth somehow. That's what I'm talking about. These things are so deep. Like, we didn't even cut that, but there's plenty of room for it. Come on. There we go. We hit a little dry spot there. This Orbit, this Helios Orbit, shout out Helios Orbit, is very aggressive, man. It's got a really aggressive adhesive, and I love it. It works extremely well. When you stick it onto something, man, it doesn't come off. Like, the only time I've ever had a warranty issue is on two frameless windows, neither of which I didn't post heat them. Like one, the guy was a night shift worker, and we did it during the day at his house, and I assumed that like 12, 13 hours would be enough to get that initial tack, so he'd be all right, because on framelesses, every time you open the door, the window drops down. Well, apparently it wasn't enough. It wasn't warm enough out that day, or it wasn't in direct sunlight enough, or whatever the case may be. But like 5 or 6 months later, it probably wasn't 5 months later, but it was a few months later when the weather got nice. He rolled it down for some reason or whatever, and he was like, hey, he called me. He's like, I just rolled my window down and I heard a crinkle, and I was like, well, that's not good. Got it fixed. And then all I started doing on that was just post heating the window. Just take the heat gun around there and just whoosh. All right, so I'm really happy with that top edge. That's nice and consistent. Now let's see what we ended up with at the bottom. Flush these seals out real good. seems like there might be a little bit of dust or dirt or something down here. Oh no, it's just hitting a dry spot on the film there. Boom. So we got that deeper than the other guy did, but we're still not quite tucked all the way down. All right, that's not a huge deal. I've done probably at least 100 of these trucks between the F-1, 2, 3, and 450s, and I've never once had an issue with these front windows not being tucked down behind their seal. Now, again, Helios has a very aggressive adhesive, so, you know, could that be why? I'm sure it certainly helps, but these seals, they're down in there. Let me grab a shank. I don't know if you'll be able to see. I'm hoping that you can, but they're very loose. I mean, just putting a shank down in there, they just move right out of the way, no big deal. Now, some of you are probably looking at this, thinking, oh, that's ugly, it's hideous, whatever. We're still well over 1/4 of an inch behind this plastic out here. And here's the thing, I'm not super worried about getting it perfectly tucked in there, because this end channel is going to go in here and, you know, effectively is going to cover that up. You're not going to see it, you're not going to notice it. That's a clean install. I'm sure there's somebody out there that's going to tell you that, you know, this isn't acceptable or whatever. Yeah, I don't know, maybe it's just my market. I've never once had anybody look at the bottom of this seal or the sides and say, oh, you know, that's not good enough, whatever. Never had that issue. So there you have it, guys. Get this cleaned up, as at least clean up my water. The thing needs a detail, but anyway, there we go. I will wipe down the outside of the windows, all of them, even the ones I didn't tint, and I'll throw this out in the sun for a few hours. I'm sure they're not going to be here until you know, after the work day, and then I will go ahead and put this end channel back in for them. A couple hours out in the sun, we'll get this window cured up enough. I can roll it down enough to put this end channel in. There you go, guys. Thanks for watching. Here you guys go. There's the finished product of this Super Duty. We did the 35% full windshield. It already had a strip on it. We tinted this window here. It was replaced. Put 5% on it to match the rest of the tint. Get ready to roll it outside. Set it in the sun. There you go, guys.